Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Grueling Truths Inside Boxing Weekly Show. I'm your host, Mike Goodpastor. Right now I want to welcome in my co-host, Jeremiah Pricer.
Good evening, Mike. How you doing? Glad to be on. Always glad to be on. Let's talk about some boxing.
I'm doing great. And we have a special guest tonight. He's been on the show a couple other times. In the middle of his comeback, he's won, I think, 3 straight so far. Help me introduce the former welterweight champion of the world, Kermit Cintron. How you doing, Kermit?
I'm doing great. My pleasure having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, great to have you on. So we got a fight coming up against Rosenberg Gomez. Let's talk a little bit about your comeback so far, though. I know you've made pretty much light work of the 3 guys you've fought. Since you come back after a fairly lengthy layoff, do you have any trouble getting in the gym and training, or easy to get back on the horse for you again?
Training's been great. It's when I take those few weeks off, it's like, back to the gym. But my promoter has been giving me, keeping me busy with fights. This is my 4th fight this 2016.
And just in the last 6 months, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Let me see. I think I fought in May, July, September, and then now.
All right. Jeremiah?
Yeah, I was wondering if you know much about your current opponent, Rosenberg Gonzalez. I mean, just looking at his record at a glance, he seems to have solid power. I mean, he's got 15 knockouts and 19 wins. Any idea what this guy fights like?
I'm not too sure. I haven't seen any videos or any clips of him. He's fought for my promoter one other time. He told me he's just a solid opponent. Will give me a couple, a few rounds, stuff like that. He thinks that I'll probably stop him in the later rounds. My job is to just go in there and look sharp, win the fight, and, just come out of there with a victory.
All right, so what stage of your comeback are you in? I mean, where are you as opposed to maybe fighting a contender within the next year?
As from what my promoter told me, 2017, I think it's February 25th, he's got me back on at Turning Stone Casino, upstate New York. And I will be fighting one of the top contenders.
All right.
Yeah, very nice. So I don't know if this is true or not. Of course, I wanted to ask you. I saw Dougie Fisher from the ring saying that you, were lowballed or something by Danny Garcia. Any truth to that?
Absolutely correct. They offered me the fight, which was a great opportunity for me to fight for the world title. But it was a low ball, on their part. It was definitely a slap in the face. It was more, to me, it was more of a offer for me to say no, so they can move on with somebody easier.
Yeah, and he can say that he at least offered you something.
Yeah, I guess if that's what you want to call it.
Boxing politics.
Boxing for a world title, getting paid like you work at Walmart, huh?
Absolutely.
But,
minimum wage.
So you look at all the champions out there. Which one would you most like to face? Maybe him, since he lowballed you?
I got to pass the test February 25th, and apparently I'm going to be fighting the winner, Thurman and Garcia.
Nice.
Interesting. I mean, the Garcia fight seems like a natural. Of course, again, he's got to get past Thurman. But the Garcia fight seems like such a natural sell. So I don't know. It's a little baffling to me he would lowball you. But 2 Puerto Rican guys, around the Philly area. I don't know. That seems like a big sell, and stylistically, that seems like the best fight. But I hope everything goes well. So I take it with the current opponent, you just stick to your jab, stick to the right hand. Is that the game plan?
Yeah, that's the game plan. I mean, just for me to use my jab. I do have a great jab. I just don't use it as much as I should. And so I make my fights a little harder than what they should be. But we're working hard, and I'm just sharpening my skills and and just setting myself back up to being on top.
So I know you got a couple kids, you got a family. What's it like? What's your day like training-wise right now?
I'm actually training twice a day. Morning around 9 in the morning, I do go do my strength and conditioning, and then later in the late afternoon, around 3:30, I go back in the gym and I work. That's where I work in the boxing gym, sharpen my skills and working on some things.
Very nice. And sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I noticed that you had Conor McGregor on your lips. Any chance to get that fight?
I just threw my name out there. I mean, it doesn't hurt just to throw it out there. Maybe I'll catch up on a hook or something like that. Being a former world champion, and big name in boxing, and on top of that, having a wrestling background. I figure I'll throw my name out there. Maybe, hey, we can do a boxing match, and then later on that year, maybe we can set something up in the octagon.
Yeah, my only question about Conor McGregor is this. You got a lot of fighters that deserve a shot that have been boxing forever, and then Conor McGregor is just going to come in and get a shot. Do you think maybe that would be more of a black eye to boxing than anything else? Especially because then he gets his ass kicked, which we all figure he'll do if he's fighting you.
Which would happen, really. I mean, but I don't know. It's all about money. It's all about money. I mean, if the check is big enough, anybody, any promoter will promote that fight. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, even if McGregor doesn't really have, a lot of us recognize McGregor, regardless of, he does have a boxing background. I mean, he was, I think, some Irish youth national champion or something, but we all know that doesn't really mean a whole lot. Plus, I've seen him outboxed by, was it Chris Van Heerden on some of the video footage. But, from Kermit's standpoint, I can see a lot of hardcore fans might not like it, but, that would be an easy win, and your name would get out there instantaneously knocking him out, which, of course, would be the case.
Yeah, definitely would. That would definitely be the plan. The plan will be just to just go out there and just take his head off, basically.
And I would actually enjoy watching that. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of us would.
Well, who knows?
Anytime you can stick it to the UFC. But and you talked about you had a wrestling background. I know that whether you recently got named a wrestling coach at a high school.
Yeah, I just officially about 2 hours ago I got the call. I got the job at it's at the junior high school, which is is a step in what I want to do. It's something that I always wanted to do. Just go in and coach kids. I enjoy teaching the wrestling and coaching. So, it'll be my first head coaching job, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
Oh, very nice. Any of your kids kind of following in your footsteps?
My son did wrestle. He's 8 now. He wrestled. Started wrestling at 6. He's got that mentality that I have. He's funny. He had gone over the flu that year that he's first year wrestling, and saw all his buddies were wrestling, so he wanted to wrestle. And I was like, no, just go support your buddies, and then when you get better, then you wrestle. So he just kept bugging me and crying and bugging me, and I was like, okay, you want to wrestle? Okay, fine. So that night, the same night, he had two matches, and he got decked twice. He was upset about it, and I was like, hey, you're not feeling good, so you don't have all your strength back and all that stuff. So after that, he went and won 17 in a row.
Now, would you want your son to attempt to be a boxer?
Heck no, man. What I have to go through in boxing, I don't want to see my son going through that. I'd rather see him, wrestled. He's an excellent baseball player for his age. He's unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying that because he's my son. If I was somebody else, I watched him play, I'll probably say the same thing. He's a very athletic. He just picks on any sport quickly. But he really doesn't put any mind into the boxing. He loves watching his dad fight, but that's the extent of it. I've taken him to the gym a couple of times, and not once has he put a boxing glove on. He just sits there and just watches. It seems that he has no interest in boxing.
Yeah, well, I can imagine with all the politics and all the bullshit that so many fighters have to deal with. But I guess it wouldn't be so bad for him just to learn a little self-defense. What position does he play?
I'm sorry?
What position does your son play in baseball?
He's they have him. He's a lefty, and he's at that age. I think this year is the age where he'll be self-pitching and stuff. Normally they have him in third or first. Sometimes they have him outfield. But I believe he wants to either go at first or in the outfield or maybe pitch. It's up to him. I know that the coach has already told him that, third, second, or shortstop, he's not going to be playing those positions, being the fact that he's a lefty.
Yeah, so, just have him play baseball. You don't get hit in the head and you get paid more and career left.
Oh, my God, yeah. Absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to convince mine. He's a really good baseball player and a football player, and he keeps telling me he likes football better, so I'm trying to push him towards baseball. So you fight Saturday night against Rosenberg Gomez. We want to wish you all the best, and then maybe when you get your fight against the contender announced, maybe you come on and give us 10 more minutes of your time.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kermit.
I appreciate it. Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Yep, me too. All right, Jeremiah. So that brings us to the other fights this weekend. We're going to start off with Jamal Charlo against Julian Williams. Charlo is the IBF super welterweight champion of the world. Most recent fight, beat Austin Trout, also has a win over K9 Bundridge. Fights against Julian Williams, the guy that's 22-0, 14 knockouts, but hadn't really fought anybody yet.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. I'm not a proponent of the 154-pound division, but, this is a good fight between two good fighters. Like you said, Julian Williams, he doesn't really have a whole lot of experience, but he did have a pretty big amateur upbringing, and from what I've seen, he looks like a pretty talented guy. But, of course, when they finally move up and fight world-class fighters, we'll finally know what he's made of. But it's a tough fight. I see it as a 50-50 fight. I don't see a clear winner here. Charlo, this is actually the better of the Charlo brothers, in my opinion. He looks like he has a stiffer punch. And I think his experience against Austin Trout, who gave him, all he could handle, I think that'll help him here. And if I was going to favor somebody just so slightly, it would be Charlo here, and I'm going to take him in a close decision.
All right, I'm going to agree with you. I think Charlo wins the fight, too. I don't know enough about Julian Williams really to just straight up pick him. Another fight, Jose Cuellar versus Abner Mares. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good fight. The featherweight division is loaded. There's a lot of good fighters there. Cuellar and Mares are two of them. Cuellar, in my opinion, he's the bigger but raw of the two. He's a big puncher. He comes and gets it. Mares is a little bit slicker, a little bit more well-rounded. But Mares, they actually canceled the first fight because Mares had vision trouble. And I'm not sure what the extent of that is, and I'm not sure if that's played a role in his past fights. Again, I can't really say, but I see it as, almost as a 50-50 fight. I probably favor Mares a little bit because of his experience and because of his, his well-roundedness. But it's a good, close fight. And if Mares fights like he has other brawlers where he engages them, could be a good scrap.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cuellar just because me and you seem to always agree on everything. So I'm going to change it up a little bit and go with Cuellar. That brings us to, how about this one? We got Jeff Horn, who was a friend of the show. He was on a few months ago against Ali Funeka. You know anything about Funeka? He's 39-5, 31 knockouts. Don't really notice that he's really fought anybody. But record-wise, it looks like he's got more experience than a lot of the guys Horn's faced.
Yeah, and I think this is a bit more about Jeff Horn getting some more experience, just kind of staying busy, staying sharp. Funeka, he's years past his best. He's a tall guy. He has solid boxing ability. His prime was when he was at 130 pounds, and a lot of people, including myself, thought he beat Joan Guzman. I don't know if you remember Guzman, but he was
I remember Guzman.
He was a real classy 130-pounder. He just couldn't keep it together. And a lot of people, again, thought Funeka beat him the first time. Then Guzman came back in the rematch and won a bit clear. But, yeah, I think this is just Horn staying a bit busy. I expect him to score a knockout here. He said he's been working on his body punching. I'm going to look forward to seeing that. And best of luck to him.
All right, and then we've got somehow a WBO World Heavyweight title fight between Joseph Parker and Andy Ruiz. Both of them seem to be big punchers. Parker's probably fought the better competition so far. What kind of shot do you give Ruiz?
I don't give him too much of a shot, honestly. I mean, I think Ruiz is a bit like Chris Arreola. He has a tendency to come in a bit overweight, though he has in recent years. He has lost some pounds. He's got quick hands, that I can give him. But in terms of power, he's not really a one-punch kind of guy. He's pretty stationary, and his hand speed is his biggest asset. His problem in this fight is that Joseph Parker likely matches his hand speed, and not only that, Parker is just better all around. He's a bigger puncher, he's quicker, his sense of distance, timing, it's all superior to Andy Ruiz. Ruiz, I think, is partly getting this shot because of marketing. You know, he's a Mexican. Mexicans want to see a Mexican finally gain a trinket in the heavyweight division, but I just don't see Ruiz pulling it off. Parker, I think he stops Ruiz. I've seen Ruiz struggle as an old Sergey Lihovich. I'm going to predict Parker the 7th round knockout.
Yeah, I agree. I think Parker knocks him out. I think it might even be slightly quicker than that. It's just whenever there's a Ruiz fight for a heavyweight title, I have, flashbacks to John Ruiz, and I get kind of cold sweats and stuff because nothing was worse than watching John Ruiz fight, if you want to call it fighting. I mean, grabbing and holding and every once in a while hitting somebody. Brings us next, IBF Heavyweight Championship fight. I think this is a better matchup. Still think it's a little bit one-sided. Anthony Joshua against Eric Molina. Molina's a tough guy. I mean, he lost by KO to Wilder, but actually gave him a good fight. But he did lose to Areola, but that was a few fights before that. Most recently, he beat Thomas Adamek, but I think Adamek probably saw his better days 3 years ago. Molina got a shot against Joshua?
No, I see it pretty much the same way. I see the Parker Ruiz fight. I mean, Molina, he looked okay against Wilder, and that's all good and well. But like you noted, he was blitzed by Areola. He beat an old Adamek. I just don't really see Molina as anything more than a fringe contender, maybe not even that. Joshua, I wish he would have went with somebody else, but since we're dealing with this fight, I think Joshua's just too big, just too technical, too quick, too powerful. He's not sloppy like Wilder. Wilder's a good heavyweight, but he has a tendency to throw shots and get off balance. Joshua just doesn't seem to have that issue. And Joshua's jab, though I think Wilder's is a bit quicker, a bit longer, Joshua is a bit more technical with his jab. So I see him keeping Molina a little bit more off balance, just sticking to the 1-2s and stopping him, I'm going to say, in the 4th round.
So, bigger question, do you think Joshua's the real deal then? It sounds like you do.
It's real tough to say. I mean, I want to see Joshua against somebody who I find to be a legitimate threat. I mean, him stopping, whoever he stopped, Dillian White, the guy
Brazil, Charles Martin.
Yeah, Charles Martin. I mean, there's not much we can go on with the Charles Martin fight. I mean, Martin beat Glazkov, but Glazkov tore his knee to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's really tough for me to say. I mean, I do see progression there, but I'm still on the fence. I don't know if he's a Frank Bruno type or whether or not he's a Lennox Lewis type. I'm still on the fence, but against a guy like Eric Molina, I see it as a wash.
All right, so we'll go to what I think is the main event of the weekend. Terrence Crawford, who I think is one of the 5 best fighters in the world, against John Molina Jr. Molina, last time out, beat Ruslan Provodnikov. I don't know if maybe Provodnikov had enough left there to really read too much into that with Molina. He lost 3 straight fights. He got knocked out by Matisse. He lost to Soto. He lost, I think, a decision to Adrian Broner. Crawford, we all know about him, beat Victor Postol, looked very good earlier on in the year. Is this competitive? I think Molina's a tough guy. So I think Molina's going to try to win the fight, but I don't know if he's got the skill or not to do it, and I'm pretty sure I know.
No, Molina, I see his chances as less than Ruiz and Molina. I mean,
put together.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Terrence Crawford he's a very, very good fighter. I mean, this kid could turn out to be something special. I mean, against Postol, he showed that he's far and away the best 140-pounder in the division. Against Molina, I mean, Molina looked good against Provodnikov because Provodnikov lacks head movement, and he was just eating jabs all night. I mean, is he going to be able to do that against a guy as well-rounded as Terrence Crawford? No, absolutely not. I mean, Crawford's going to beat the shit out of Molina. I don't see it as competitive at all, and I think he stops him pretty early. I mean, Molina's been in some wars. I don't see him as resurrecting his career just because he happened to have a good night against Provodnikov. I think Crawford stops him pretty early. I would say the 5th round.
All right, and now I'm going to go to Jeremiah. Finally, on the grillingtruth.net, sent us another article after like a 13-year hiatus. You want to tell everybody what the article was and what your criteria was?
Yeah, so the article was the top 20 best chins in boxing. The criteria, of course, is, I base it on a number of factors. Guys who have a proven resume against punchers, guys like James Lights Out Tony, who he's traversed all the way from 160 to 200 plus, and the only time that he was dropped was against Reggie Johnson. It really took a big guy like Sam Peter to hurt him badly. Guys like Shane Mosley who have been taking it for years and years. Provodnikov, who obviously has a great chin. I just took into account, the amount of big punchers that they face, the length of time that they've been doing it, just how many times they've been dropped, how many times they've been hurt. And again, I favored, the more veteran guys who've been doing it for a long time.
So when's the last time James Toney fought? Because I didn't even realize he was still fighting.
He is, and he's not officially retired. It's kind of a sad thing at this point because he just lost to a journeyman, a low-level journeyman type guy. But he's not officially retired, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he has something planned soon, but don't quote me on that. I think I caught a glimpse.
Maybe he's fighting Conor McGregor in an MMA match.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic, right? That's what we all want to see. I mean, yeah, lovely. No, but I mean, I just thought of a lot of the veteran guys I favored. I think there were a few surprises in there. I mean, a guy like Marius Vok, who a lot of people don't pay attention to, but when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, he took everything the man could dish out and barely flinched.
Well, he's a Viking. I watch that show all the time. Those guys are tough as hell.
Yeah, certainly. I need to catch that. The new season too, and the season before. I actually watched.
Me too. It's on my DVR. The new episode from last week, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I missed the last season, and I'm a little upset because it's actually a show that I like. It's one of the few that I like. But I mean, when I went with guys that a lot of people widely ignore, guys like Edner Cherry, Omar Figueroa, Martin Murray. Even Devon Alexander, who I know has something planned for 2017, he's not a guy that we typically associate Now, he's not the first guy we associate with toughness, but again, I pointed out all the big punchers that he faced, and he was only put on his ass once.
All right. Well, like I said, everybody, if you want to read that article, it's on thegruelingtruth.net. It was posted earlier this evening, so make sure you go check that out. Any other boxing news you want to discuss, Jeremiah?
Well, I mean, personally, there's a lot of good undercard fights this weekend. I mean, but nothing that I'm particularly interested in. There are a few prospects that I do want to note, just because I've been keeping my eye on them, and I think they're worthy of that. I mean, Ivan Baranchek, who's a Eastern European puncher, like many who we've seen. Also, another Eastern European puncher is Sergey Lipinets, a guy that I highly recommend watching. I mean, the guy's like a lot of Eastern Europeans. He's highly technical, knows how to cut off the ring. He's got good speed, big pop, and he's only got 10 fights, and he's almost a legitimate top 10 contender already. But I would like to make note of Ed Brown's passing. I'm not sure if you caught wind of this, but there was a Chicago-based prospect who was, he was coming up through the ranks. He was only 25 years old, and he ended up getting shot multiple times in Chicago and ended up passing away.
I did not know that.
Yep. And again, it's unfortunate, but, the way Chicago is at the current moment, sadly, it's not a surprise.
No, and the amazing thing is that guns aren't even legal to own in Chicago.
I know. Odd how that works, right?
Yeah, it is. But, all right, so I guess we'll wrap it up. We want to thank Kermit for coming on again. Jeremiah, any final parting words?
Nope, no parting words. I mean, the Ed Brown stuff was all that I had left. But, to everybody that we've had on our show, Kermit Cintron, Jeff Horn, I wish both of you good luck, and I look forward to seeing you guys win.
Yep, most definitely. And then we'll get Kermit back on, and maybe we can get Jeff at some point before he hits the big time.
Yeah, would love to have both of them.
Next week, guys, Monday night will be the show again. We will have former contender Harold Brazier on, who, I don't know if you've ever watched a Harold Brazier-Roger Mayweather fight.
I have not. No, I have not caught it, but I hear it was a whirlwind.
Oh, yeah, I think it was the fight of the year in like 88 or 89. But he also fought Meldrick Taylor. He fought Pernell Whitaker, went to distance with Whitaker. He was a hell of a fighter. Talked to him today. He's going to be on next week. He was going to be on tonight, but I think he had a meeting at church or something tonight, couldn't do it. So Harold Brazier should be our guest next week, so make sure you guys tune back in to check that out. Remember, check us out at thegruelingtruth.net for all our past interviews. Guys like former lightweight champion David Diaz, former welterweight champion Carlos Palomino. I think who else did we have? We had Charles Brewer, who was, I think, an alphabet champion in the middleweight division. We had former heavyweight champion Tim Witherspoon. So you can go there and check that out. Check all Jeremiah's articles out. Remember, you can hear all the shows on iHeart, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Music, pretty much everywhere you can find podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Kermit Cintron, Jeremiah Pricer, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.